Nancy. It's a mess. Must be.
That comes out to the ocean, for Christ's sake.
But that's what I'm saying.
You're gonna move it like
No, no, no.
$400.
We talked about having it, we didn't talk about dates or anything like that.
Because you can buy them for like,
All right, 8 p.m., we ready to roll, friends?
Yes.
This is a meeting of the Township Committee, March 5th, 2018. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the Two River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk on January 18th, 2018. Committeeman Fiore. Here. Committeeman Heidel.
Here.
Committeeman Perry.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Here.
Mayor Murray. Here. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide, defending our freedoms, constitutions, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we have known action items, a public hearing of proposed ordinance 2018-3216, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 362 of the Code of the Township of Middletown, establishing a no-knock registry.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak to 2018-3216? Okay, seeing no members of the public wishing to speak to 2018-3216, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Yes, I move to adopt, I apologize.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 2018-3216 on second and final hearing. Our next item for public hearing, we have 2018-3217, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
Is there anyone who would like to speak to 2018-3217? Yes, Mr. Pistacchi.
I have the ordinance here in this booklet, and I see the numbers of almost 552,000 in excess of an increase in final appropriation, etc. And I see now therefore be it ordained a figure of 1,000,000, almost 932,000. Do you add those two numbers, or is the 52,000 part of the 1,932?
The 552, is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm rounding it up or down.
Yeah, that's part of the 1,931,000.
Okay. So the budget, as tentatively planned, I guess, not yet finalized, would be before this, the use of the cap bank of 552,000. The budget was anticipated to go up something like 1,300,000, whatever.
No, all this is something we do every year as part of the budget cycle. It by no means dictates what we're going to increase the budget by. The state has, this is not the levy cap, this is the appropriation cap, it's an older cap. And they give us an amount that the appropriations can increase each year. It's based on the Consumer Price Index. That comes out in the fall. It tells us how much we're allowed to increase it. Each year you're allowed to do this ordinance, which allows you to increase that limit to 3.5%. There's no other amount you can do. You can't go higher, you can't go lower. And the reason that we do it is not so much for the intention of using it. In the years that we've done it, we haven't used it. but it's the only way that you can bank any appropriation cap amount that you haven't used. If you don't do this ordinance, you can't bank it. So we do it just as a safety measure so that if a year where we needed to perhaps move some funds that were formerly outside of cap, inside of cap, we have that ability. It may not even make a bottom line budget impact, but we have the ability to do that because we have the allowance to exceed the cap by the banking.
If you decide not to go up to 3.5 and utilize that 552,000, can you change your mind after you finalize the budget? In other
No.
words, a change order of some sort, would you reduce the amount?
No, this is just merely, we don't even have to use what's allowed, and a lot of times we haven't, even without doing this ordinance. But if you don't do the ordinance, you can't bank anything, no matter what you use or don't use.
How much do we have in the fund balance or the surplus or whatever we have?
Well, that's not this. The banking that we
Yeah,
have
I
from
figured.
prior years is usually about 1.8 million that we haven't
That's-
used in the 2 prior years.
I'm not talking about the cap bank now. I'm talking about any other fund balance or reserve
But we have to
fund.
talk about this
Yeah,
ordinance,
this is
correct?
an ordinance.
Right.
Right.
Leo, we just have to stick to this
Excuse
particular
me?
ordinance. We just have to stick to this particular ordinance for the public hearing. You know what I'm saying? All the questions have to be specific to this specific, I can't speak tonight, specific ordinance. So you can ask those questions in the public session or later.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time and your answers, responses.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to 2018-3217? Okay, seeing no members of the public wishing to speak to 2018-3217, move to close public comment and adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore,
Yes.
Committeeman Heigl,
Yes.
Committeeman Perry,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino,
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. At this time, we have introduction of proposed ordinance 2018-3218, an ordinance establishing fair market value and authorizing and directing the acquisition of property located in the Township of Middletown, designated as Block 276, Lot 48, Compton Street, by purchase for eminent domain.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore,
Yes.
Committeeman Heigl,
Yes.
Committeeman Perry,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino,
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held March 19, 2018. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee if you would adopt a consent agenda, which would include resolutions 18-102 through 18-108.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore,
Yes.
Committeeman Heigl,
Yes.
Committeeman Perry,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino,
Yes.
Mayor Murray. Motion carries to adopt consent agenda. Okay, at our regular meeting agenda for March 19th, we'll have certificates of appreciation and proclamations. We will have approval of minutes, public hearing of proposed ordinances, introduction of proposed ordinances. For tonight's discussion, we have the Army Corps Flood Mitigation Project for Leonardo.
Yeah, we're going to carry that till
Right,
April.
we're going to pull that one off
Discussion.
for now.
Are you good?
It was not opening. Won't open. No, for this item. Is it open?
No. B?
No, it won't open.
I can't.
It's just the annual, we go out for proposals for all the various instructors for recreation programs, and if anybody just has any questions about it, just get back to us about it.
We have the McLeod-Rice House update.
So, we met 2 weeks ago, I guess now, with the
And more than that.
consultant. If you remember, we had commissioned an architectural firm to do a conditions analysis, basically, of the McLeod-Rice House to determine its current, physical condition. The other part of it was to determine whether or not it had any eligibility potential for the National Register of Historic Places. And that's been a big part of this discussion because the potential for getting funding to rehabilitate the building is keyed on it being eligible. It's also key because Green Acres, in order to allow us to use it for a use that's non-recreational necessarily, they'll only allow that on a building that has is eligible for the historic register. So our last meeting with the consultants was very positive because at first it was a little bit on the fence as to whether or not the building was going to meet the eligibility requirement. The state were a little wishy-washy about making a commitment, but based upon some additional research, and if you remember, we authorized some additional work to be done on this, they actually have come up with a lot of really interesting information regarding the history of the farm and the owners, and now are pretty confident that it will be eligible for designation as a historic structure. And we did discuss the potential uses. We had a meeting with Green Acres to discuss potential uses. They were pretty positive about our ability to get a permission to sort of change the use of the building, to include some potential residential component, some potential public or recreational component. And so we're proceeding along those lines. But I just wanted to give you an update to let you know that it does look like it's going to be, a building's going to be eligible for historic designation.
That designation also give you some safeguards with regard to any required code improvements.
Yeah, interestingly, yes, it would, but the concept, one of the things we did in the proposal, request for proposals with the architects, was that whoever was selected to do the job would also agree to develop some conceptual plans for reuse of the building. So we've had them do that, and they've actually been able to do it in a way that would take out some of the non-historic components of the building, include actually an elevator added to the building to get you access to all floors.
And knocking down a lot of the building that wasn't.
Knocking down the parts that are non,
like the parts that are
the add-on.
salvageable
Yeah.
and.
So it was actually pretty impressive, I think. I think you agree, it's pretty impressive what they came up with as a concept, and it sounds like it could really work. But we have to take it to the next step will be making a final submittal to the state SHPO office to get definite word that it'll be eligible.
So from my perspective, if you can get SHPO or you can get state historic grant money, that's all well and good. And if that's the case and the option and the route to salvaging that building with some other type of grant financing, fine. But I have to say, if we don't, and I'm going to go on record as I've gone on record privately and I'll go publicly, I am not for spending any additional township money on studies or anything else to preserve a building that, in my opinion, unless the state is going to fund it from a historic preservation perspective, that I just think you're throwing good money after bad. So
Yeah, I think our marching orders to them have been that this has to be done through either financing other than township and private financing. That we're not going to be contributing anything towards it. It's not
You don't even know if it's going to
realistic.
register. I hope it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance, but
But you have to, isn't the Murray farmhouse on the register? Correct me if I'm
The
wrong.
barn,
The barn.
not the house.
The barn, right? And to try to get any money to rehabilitate that, it's like pulling a wisdom tooth with a toothpick.
yeah.
I mean, so I just think
The only difference here is that this building has tons of infrastructure already. You don't have to do anything much to it other than a lot of cosmetic stuff.
And to make it safe, make it actually viable and not, fire suppressive and others.
It's not going to be cheap.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
There's no
say
doubt
here.
about
So
that. It's not gonna be cheap.
if you're, you can't even get new windows in the barn over there from the state historic preservation. We got this pie in the sky idea that the state's going to throw millions of dollars at McLeod-Rice. God bless if the Murphy administration wants to do that, but I'm not too optimistic.
Interestingly, Go ahead.
The same person that designed the McLeod-Rice House is the architect.
God bless
of
if
our
the
governor's
Murphy
house.
administration's going to fund this.
Phil
Let's
Murphy's
see
house
where
was
it
designed by the
goes.
same
Let's see where it
architect as
goes.
the
Right now,
McLeod-Rice
the building
house.
just
What are the odds
sitting
of
there
that?
rotting away, and that's not gonna work either, so, let's see what happens. All right? We're not all on the same page on this one.
The Green Acres Park improvements.
So if you recall, we were notified by Green Acres that we were awarded $369,000 to do park improvements. As if you remember, we submitted a plan to them to do a long-term series of improvements to various parks. It was about $1.4 million altogether. They have a program where if you apply to this Green Acres grant/loan program, they will give you 25% of the project cost as a grant. The remaining 75% is a 2% loan, which is a pretty good deal. However, they won't do the entire $1.4 million at one time. You have to do it in pieces. And so essentially what you have is the project broken down into phases. The first phase would be the $369,000. We would get a grant agreement for, a loan agreement for the 75%, and we would receive the 25% as a grant. And as you can see in the in what you received from Janet, the first phase would be improvements to Tyndall Park, including, as we've talked about, the reuse of the miniature golf area as a. I have a hard copy of if anybody wants to see it. Creation of a dog park is a big part of this. It's where the former miniature golf course used to be. And then there are other improvements to Croydon Hall, Normandy, Lincroft Acres, and Nutswamp. One of the major components of this whole project, and all the parks we do upgrades to, is to include security cameras. We've been having, a significant problem in recent years with vandalism at parks, and it cost us a lot of money. Tyndall Park, 2 years ago, I guess it was, had the electrical meter vandalized, and we had no lights there for a significant amount of time. Other parks have had vehicles driven onto the fields, things have been set fire to, various bits of vandalism that cost us serious money to repair. So we want to put it out there that from now on, if you go into a park and you do something like that, good chance you're going to get caught because we're going to have you on camera. And hopefully it'll be a deterrent to those things continuing to happen. But there's it's primarily to make the parks better, more useful to the community, but also to let people know that we take vandalism seriously. And hopefully this will, like I said, this will act as a deterrent. So the plan would be, we have multiple phases to this program. They're not totally locked in stone. They can adjust. Next year, for example, we decided to reprioritize something different. We could do that. But this is the plan for now. And for the first phase, it would be the $369,000 component. And each one would be about the same amount of money.
Is there any reliance from one phase to the other? Is there any reliance on spending phase 2 from phase 1? Or are they fairly independent?
They're independent, but they also, though, they probably wouldn't look kindly on you saying, well, we're not going to do anything after phase 1. We're just getting the whole thing. I think they expect you to follow through. It may be every other year. It may not be every year that you can do one of these. Probably every 2 years is more realistic, given the amount of work involved.
Once you put this in, the phases, are these locked in? Having a little bit of a hard time agreeing to wondering why leave a $30,000 park side at Horsey Park going in, but I'm just kind of wondering about that.
Very expensive.
That sounds like an LED sign that we don't allow
No.
in this township anymore.
Definitely not an
so
LED sign.
I can't see another sign costing more than $5,000. It says it's welcome to Forestry Park, and as it is, unless you're trying to put some messaging on there.
Yeah, I think the idea is to put messaging and so announcing upcoming events, but it's not LED.
So the school ones that they put in with all these flashy bright colors, I don't think ever crossed the $15,000 to $20,000 marker. So why are we so high on that estimate?
There was a sign sample that was looked at. It was kind of a elaborate sign for a major park facility, and that was used as a sort of a template. Again, we're not locked into any of that. Just a concept at this point.
Is that the one with all the rocks and
Mhm.
landscaping?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So there'll be a resolution on it at the next meeting, at least applying for this first phase.
Okay, we have the sale of approximately 10,000 cubic yards of compost through an online auction.
Yeah, that's excess material, like the Compton St. Just looking to auction it off, try to get some money for it, make some room down there.
Are we ready for
Next round
Wednesday?
of brush.
For
We're ready,
Wednesday?
we're ready, yep.
Have we spoken to other towns, Ted, that, don't have quite the tree sampling or, like I kind of would want us to dump some mulch for their residents to use and pick up at their DPW facilities?
You would think so, but really, this is leaf mulch down there, and usually it's used to make topsoil, and then mix it with regular dirt, so it really hasn't.
Oh, this is the leaf stuff, this isn't the
Yeah.
brush stuff.
This isn't we have that too, we're not selling that, but that's actually even less valuable, believe it or not, than the wood mulch.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
actually more valuable for people that come to pick it up and just mulch themselves.
Yeah, they do, it's popular at the recycling yard, people take it, and we deliver it and everything else too, so that's helped us get rid of a lot of it, but,
This is the compost.
the leaf compost, yeah, it's, somebody would like to buy that and take it away and mix it with the soil. So,
Can you get rid of it?
we have a lot down there, trying to make some room for the leaves that are down there now.
Okay, we have township committee comments.
I'm gonna go with Committeeman Perry this evening.
I don't have any comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Committeeman Fury.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I can reserve my comments to the general meeting. I don't think there's much here.
Committeeman Hybel.
Same here.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, I have exactly no comments. Thank you.
All right, and I also have no comments, and I will reserve them for the next meeting, where I think we have a pretty decent agenda, so. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make any comments? Leo, yes.
When you say comment, can it be?
Anything you want, anything you want, Leo. 5 minutes.
Question, okay. So can I revert to the question I asked?
Now you can.
Yes, but you know the drill, you do the name and the address. and-
Yes, so,
Leo
Name,
Christopherly, address.
oh yeah, Leo Christopherly, 121 Cranberry Court, Shady Oaks in River Plaza, Middletown. I just wanted to know what the, whatever you call it, reserve funds, fund balance, slush fund, what is the status of that? And in an emergency, can that money be called on if it crops up or occurs that the government needs to raise some additional money? Can you go to the reserve fund and not anticipate using the money that's available in the cap bank?
There are two different things, and I'll answer the questions independently. For a municipality, any fund balance, we can't just go into that during the year. We're not allowed to. We have to do it through the budget mechanism. It's different rules for different government entities, and for a municipality, the answer to that question is no. And again, the cap that you're talking about, that's different. That's again for budgeting. And that has to do with where the state says we have to place certain expenses. Some are what's considered inside the appropriation cap, some are outside. The cap that we talked about tonight, again, just allows us, if we ever needed, to use that bank if we had to move things from outside to in. It doesn't mean we're using that level. It doesn't mean that we are moving things. It's just that if we don't adopt that ordinance, we are not allowed to bank any of that. So that means in future years, we wouldn't have that available to us if we needed it.
It's not I think it's important that it's not an actual appropriation.
Right.
It's just giving us the ability to appropriate those
It's
funds.
not
if we-
anticipated revenue or?
No.
No. It's just a number on a
And
piece
so
of
it's
paper,
not
and that's nothing more than that.
It's not allocated.
It's not allocated, it's not.
It's really just a
it's not money.
formality. It's just the way that the statute is written. And so to be able to have that bank in case you needed it, you have to adopt that ordinance
It's giving us,
each year.
the committee, the authorization, future potential ability to appropriate that if they had to, but it's not actual money that's there. The money would have to come from somewhere.
Anything that's going to be spent is still going to be done through the budget
I
process.
think I have 2 minutes on the clock, so I have a copy of this document by Clifford Moore, and it's from Matthew Clark, and it's about the assessment demonstration. I call it a pilot program, and he has done the mathematics. I think it's, I'm not a mathematician, but I think it's a rather shallow treatment. It's a shallow presentation. Maybe the work is outstanding, effective, and efficient. I don't want to criticize Matthew Clark, but I'm looking at this document, and it's presented. So I was wondering if you people got a copy of this from the, I really think you need to see this.
Leo, what's the date on that?
December 14th, 2017. I called him and talked to him for
Yeah, I don't recall seeing anything like that.
half an hour, and I guess he was very patient, wasn't off-putting or anything. And he finally said, well, I'll send you something in the mail. It came 2 days later, and this was it. And this is proposing, I think, if I read the numbers right, for the next 10 years, the assessment demonstration pilot program has been so effective. I think it's predicated, they try to bring up the name Somerset, and they try to, this document tries to say we use figures in some other counties, and we have the numbers that suggest that we can go ahead and have the state have all 21 counties implement this, I guess, after this final year, 2018, and a 5-year study. So it looks like Matthew Clark and maybe Alec Worth think this is, but it's a fait accompli in their state of mind. To me, it's government. I'm skeptical. I really need to see the analytics, even though I don't understand it. I want to see the algorithms. I want to see all, show your work in mathematics. That's what you have to do. When you're really in mathematics, you have to show your work. All right, you have to show your formulas that prove your theory. This is just a hypothesis, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not satisfied. I'm no expert, but I have read almost all of this, and in some places. And so may I conclude with my recommendation. The title of this is under a past law, PL 2013, Chapter 15, and its title is, in quotes, Real Property Assessment Demonstration, I insert, Pilot Program. It's a pilot program. It's not a fait accompli. And so I have an alternative, and I'm serious, okay? It doesn't mean it just because I'm serious, people have to pay, fall over, you know, Dad say, hey, this is a great idea, and implement it, but nonetheless, I'm serious. I have a title that's a rival of this. And I think the same analytics and the same mathematics, the same algorithms can be used for this. But I'm just giving you the title. My program for raising taxes for municipal, the county, the townships, and the school boards. Well, I like to put the school board somewhere else, but anyway. So here's the title: a progressive income tax based, tax based. Well, you can almost say income based. A progressive income based demonstration pilot program. My land is productive of no income. If you do not have a protection of private property, liberty goes out the window. And I don't see where we're having a lot of protection of private property with all this open space stuff that's being used. The sale of the 2 senior citizens home in...
You gotta wrap it up.
in
8 minutes.
The last statement. The sale of the 2 senior citizen homes, care centers, and the account receivables came to $34.1 million, and the freeholders have been using that, half of that money, up to $18 million or something, to try to keep their tax levy flat. And so it's a sale of property. And maybe I talked to Ted, and I was enlightened about a few things.
Leo, we gotta finish after the meeting, I'm sorry.
Oh, shoot.
I'm sorry.
Have I run over the 2
You're like,
minutes
I
I gave
think you might,
myself?
yeah. Just a little.
Just a bit.
I'm sorry, respectfully. Is there anybody else who'd like to make it? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Mary Grant, 135 Lindy Lane in Lincroft. First, I wanted to make sure Ted got my email today.
I did, yes, I responded to you too.
Okay, good. I haven't been home since I sent it, so. And if you could forward that to whoever needs to be forwarded
Yep,
to.
I got the
your
plans and
email.
stuff, yep,
Okay.
I'll send them to them.
Okay. And, I was wondering if any of you have heard anything from the county about the 520 traffic study. I understand that it's about ready to be rolled out. Have you heard anything?
Our
Well,
administrator.
I spoke to, Ted and I both spoke to Joe Tour a week or so ago, and we're meeting with him as soon as the date can be set,
Okay,
and we're supposed to go over that with him. And then we're going to set up a meeting with your group.
okay. All right.
So probably in the next week or 2,
Oh, good.
you'll hear about meeting date.
All right, excellent. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to make any public comment? Yes, Mr. Watson?
Yeah, my name's Don Watson, living at 1 Collinson Drive. I was wondering if somebody sitting up there can give us a little overview of the traffic study that was done regarding Village 35?
The traffic study that was done by who? Which traffic study?
The one that was in the bill list tonight, that everybody voted on?
I didn't see the bill
We
list.
paid $5,000 to some company to do a traffic study.
Right. That will be discussed at the planning board meeting, but the township retained a consultant to do an independent analysis of the applicant's traffic information. And that was done probably about a month ago. And we're not really ready to discuss that publicly yet. We're still working with the consultant who did the study, but soon there'll be a public
So we didn't
discussion
do a study ourselves, we just evaluated someone else's study?
What we did, first of all, it wasn't paid for by the township, it was paid for by the developer's escrow. And it was designed to look at the applicant's traffic study, traffic data, and critically analyze it, and also recommend any further steps or means by which to improve traffic conditions based upon the proposed project. So yeah, it went a little bit beyond what the applicant did.
So we added our 2 cents to it.
We did, yes.
Okay. Also, I was wondering if anybody has been considering the funds that we will be receiving from the utility companies as a result of recent decisions, like a reduction in gas and electrical fees. Is that? Oh.
You're referring to the BPU's decision to, I believe it was that any reduction in taxes that any utility companies received from the federal government had to be passed on to the ratepayer.
Right. Does the municipality pay taxes on the utilities?
Yeah.
So we should see a reduction in those rates.
Yeah, also to keep in mind too, in our case, the municipality, we belong to a joint sustainable energy meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a pool of dozens of municipalities and governmental agencies, and we pool our resources to pay for our gas and electric.
Mm-hmm.
We already get a substantial decrease on that, so I would imagine that somehow that benefit will accrue next time. I think we go out to bid every 2 years for that. And so it'll probably come through those prices going down.
If the state was really serious about property tax reductions, they'd restore the energy receipts tax and not this little gimmick game of their little federal tax reduction.
Yeah, but this is what they're doing now, Tony.
Well, I understand what they're doing now, Tom, but you know
Okay.
what? You make it sound like it's gonna be millions of dollars.
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking,
It'll
Tony.
be pennies by the time it's done.
Right, that's why I'm asking, because I
You
wasn't
know
sure
the
if
answer to it
anybody
already.
on the
You already know
board...
the answer to it, Don.
You already know the answer?
You already knew the answer to it.
No, I didn't, because I was just wondering if anybody's considered what we would realize.
Well, exactly. The problem is that we're part of a consolidated consortium.
Right.
That ultimately, what's JCP&L going to save in federal taxes? Do we have that dollar value?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's impossible for us to give that calculation.
Okay, that's the answer I'm looking for then.
Impossible.
Thank you very much. That's all I have for tonight.
Thanks, Don.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, anyone else who'd like to make any public comments? Okay, seeing no members of the public wishing to make any further comments, I move to close this meeting and adjourn.
Second.
Committeeman Fury.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.